I've always considered myself a pretty creative person ever since I was a little kid. I've always been able to look at things differently and be able to conceptualize ideas a lot quicker than some can. That's just always how my brain works. And that's just kind of how I'm wired. I'm now in my early 20s and in my second year of college, and I'm now starting to realize how quickly burnout can happen. I've taken a film class pretty much every semester since I've started, and oh my god, I feel fatigued. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to happen this soon. Um, I thought that that would have come at least halfway through college, but apparently I was wrong. I don't know. It's just been really a weird past few months for a multitude of reasons. I don't have to get into everything. I'm not going to trauma dump. Like, y'all don't care. I basically just haven't had any creative motivation or drive to even think about creating my next project or even picking up my camera. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I stopped taking my medication. So I've been on Adderall since I was 10 years old. Crazy, I know. But I've been on that medication since I was 10. And what had happened was is it's a stimulant, right? So that would be my source of dopamine and kind of drive my creativity for a lot of things, but it got to the point where it was to my own detriment. So I'd end up hyper focusing on very tiny details that don't matter, and it would end up creating more of an issue in the long run as opposed to me being able to just like kind of shut it out of my mind and let it not bother me. With that being said, I've been now off of it for about 4 or 5 months. At the time of filming this, it's November 2025. I've been off of Adderall since May. So it's been about 6 months. And I couldn't be happier. But there's a lot of drawbacks to it because, I'm kind of going through a withdrawal in many cases to me being on this medication for 10 years and then kind of coming off of it cold turkey and having to like rewire my brain in a lot of different ways to kind of intrinsically motivate myself to do things, because literally for the first like month that I was off of it, I didn't have any motivation to do anything, and it kind of threw me into a spiral. And it wasn't until about a few weeks ago that I realized that whenever I started getting like my creative spark back, I was so happy because I was like thinking in the back of my head, oh my God, what have I done? I literally am not motivated to do anything anymore. I was like, I'm going into this as my profession and I don't have any drive or motivation to do it without a medication. It really made me think. I was like, should I go back on it? Should I not? But I eventually stuck it out, and I'm glad I did because I'm finding out that I can do it and I'm able to function without the medication. I'm droning on about this. There's two different types of motivation. There's extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is the drive to do something for your own personal reward or enjoyment, while extrinsic motivation is going to be the other half of that, where you're trying to do something to appease other people or avoid consequences. What really stuck with me is just kind of the idea that motivation doesn't come out of thin air. You have to be able to like have a desire and a want to do it, and you have to just like grab it once it kind of comes up. Even if it doesn't, you just have to kind of force yourself to do it and get your mind in the habit of that. And that's what I learned. Don't cite my sources. That's just what works for me. I literally am still just a college student. I don't have a PhD. Don't listen to me. All right. But yeah, it was super interesting to me because just kind of getting out of that mindset that like, oh, I have to rely on this medication to like help me function. It's not the case. And I'm living proof that that's not the case. I've really loved being able to create stuff over the past 2 years, and you know, people like you watching my videos and being able to enjoy them, it really makes me happy. Even if like I don't have a million followers on here, I have maybe 100 right now, but I kind of use this channel as just like kind of like an outlet for a lot of different things. And a lot of it is just mainly my creative output. This is the first semester in college that I'm not taking any film classes, so I'm wanting to get back into YouTube and I can't make any promises on anything because I don't know how I'm going to feel next week. Even if I don't post this video, it's still just like kind of, you know, feeding that urge to create for me. And I miss it. That brings me into my next part of the video. I want to show y'all what I've been working on. So back in May, I filmed it was kind of like a screen test for a much larger project that I have been working on. I love it so much. I'm so excited for y'all to see it. At the time of filming, it's already out, so I'll link it in the description. Go and watch it. Don't look too much into it because like I just used my friends as the characters. But it was just basically just a framing and like a screen test on like how the very opening scene of this film is supposed to go. And it turned out really good and I love it. This is what we got going on right now. Period. I have a film project due tomorrow. Have I started on it? Not really. So what do I have in my back seat? A bunch of gear that I needed to check out. My university has a media pool where I can check like film gear out for free. Great. Love it. Isn't that amazing?
We're on the last take of the night.
I'm like this to the camera. I went.
Yeah, you're so funny.
The director is starving us. He won't let us eat or drink anything.
He made me roll up my windows and
We're suffocating back here.
Blah 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 blah. Period. The story that I'm writing right now is about, I'll read y'all the log line. On a spontaneous vacation to a remote Appalachian cabin, a troubled child actor and her neglectful parents contend with ancient and malevolent folklore tied to the Appalachian Mountains, sparking a desperate confrontation with her vengeful mother and the past she'd prefer to leave behind. This is a super dramatized like sum up of what it is, but basically I originally wrote it as a 2-hour-long screenplay and then I shortened it down into a 40-minute short film. But yeah, that's basically what it's about. It's about this child actor. She's super famous and kind of seen as like this beacon of beauty and youth amongst like her community, and she's the star of like some Nickelodeon show. She has famous parents that kind of like forced her into this. It's not what she wants for herself. It's quickly become a very allegorical concept for childhood trauma, and point blank period, don't neglect your children. But throughout the entire story, the main character is kind of battling with the fact that she has no self-liberation and isn't able to be her own person and is kind of operating at the hands of her parents until we kind of like get to the end of the story where she is finally like stepping out of her shell and is able to kind of overcome that. I wanted it to be something that was, you know, like the stakes were very personal for our character, and it wasn't like, you know, she's going and saving the world, like whatever. I wanted it to be very like unique and but also personable at the same time. And I know I mentioned ancient and malevolent folklore. I live in Tennessee, and if you live anywhere like around the Appalachian Mountains, you've probably heard of Appalachian folklore. My family, I've heard a lot of things about it like growing up. And so have my parents and so have their parents. I thought it would be really cool to have a family who is not from this part of the world. Like they're from Los Angeles and they come over here and they have no idea what they're even getting into and aren't able to understand the history that lies in the soil beneath their feet. I'm super proud of the concept. I also wanted it to be as respectful as possible to Native American folklore because those two ideas go in tandem with each other. But it got to a certain point where I was, you know, doing the screen test for the first scene. I started casting people and I was like reaching out to producers and I hit a damn roadblock. And I was like, I'm getting way too in over my head on this. And so I ended up having to put a pin in it. And now I'm kind of coming back to it with new eyes. Yeah, it's really hard to find funding for a project like that whenever you live in Tennessee and are in college and don't have very many connections to, you know, people that can make something like that happen. And so I was basically just having to rely on things like crowdfunding and just kind of cold emailing like producers or investors and trying to see if they were interested. And sometimes that's what you have to do. I think that I just need to use my resources that I have right now and create a very small version of the same story, but in a not grandiose way. That's advice that I got from one of my film professors who I love so much, love her to death. Basically told me that it's going to happen at some point. Can't bite off more than you can chew. And you have to be able to have something to pitch to people. And I think that that's what I wasn't understanding, because I was like, oh, I have this script that's like, that I think is so damn good. And then like I'm sending it to people and people are like, okay, do you have any visuals for this? And I'm like, no. That was probably one of the best and most simple like pieces of advice I've gotten, because it's like you have to be able to create the visual first to have something to pitch to people before it's turned into something that you want it to be. In summary, creativity can be hard to come by sometimes, but you can't force creativity. Otherwise, you're going to get burnt out. That's why there's a lot of people on TikTok or YouTube who force themselves to post every day and are like, oh, I have to hit that grind. I have to like stay creative and I have to like keep posting. Like, that's the quickest way to get burnout. With that being said, I want to thank y'all for watching this video. I know it was kind of long-winded. I think it's good to kind of talk to a camera sometimes and get your ideas out there. I haven't made a video in a long time where I've just like sat and talked to the camera. I want to be able to do it more, and I kind of want to start creating content that's like showing my creative process. I know I showed it a little bit in this video, but you know, every time I shoot something, I want to be able to, you know, show the decisions I'm making and why I'm doing this and why I'm not doing this. But yeah, I think I just need to listen to my professor's advice. Going smaller isn't a step back. It is a step forward. It's just, it's necessary to be able to create the larger projects that you want to make and realize that it's okay to be able to dumb it down a bit.